Heyo, it's OmniDog here with the books I read this week. Thank you for tuning in, and I'd be making more videos if I felt as good as I did today. I feel good today, so I'm trying to make as many videos as possible today. Today is what I read for an entire week. I got a lot read, and I will go into descriptions, small descriptions of each. We have a lot of winners and a couple of losers. So we will start out first, excuse me a sec. We'll start out first with a book I think is underrated, and that is Andy Diggle's Dynamite published Uncanny. I think it suffers from mix-ups with the Uncanny X-Men, maybe. It should be a bigger book than it is because I found it to be an excellent book, a super exciting read, a very heart-pumping read. And it is a book about a guy that has special powers that enable him to, once he touches somebody, he acquires their knowledge base from their thoughts to their physical skill sets. So if he touches somebody that is a martial artist, he will pick up every move that that guy knows and how to use them. So here is a look at some of the art. The art is really good. I want to make sure I'm getting it on there. The art is quite good. So it starts out with him in a casino using his powers to win, only he loses somehow, gets in Dutch with the head of the casino and the crime empire in the city that he's in. When he is rescued, and he's in serious trouble for it, and he's rescued by another person who is similar to he in that she has special powers. Hers are that not only is she an excellent marksman, but she heals on her own. And they're called actives. And it turns out that there are more actives in the world. And the whole book is a thrilling adventure to try to find this source, what they call the source for all these powers. So he is led to an office in a big city where the head of the organization that employed the woman that saved him wants to send him on a mission to save somebody. And he encounters a variety of people who also want to find the source, also want to find the person he's looking for. So they're competing teams, super big adventure, really well written. There are two books, season 1, which is a little thinner, and then season 2, which is much thicker. And Andy Diggle really knows how to write adventure. He wrote great James Bond books, and I think this is just as exciting and inventive as his James Bond books. This book is really exciting, really fun, really inventive. Let's see, I don't want to give it away too much. It's interesting. The source is interesting, and there are several twists and turns in it that make this a top-notch read. I highly recommend The Uncanny on Dynamite from Andy Diggle. And the artist, let's give him props. The artist, Aaron Campbell. So get The Uncanny. This is a buy. Next book by Cullen Bunn, Rogue Planet. This deals with a sentient planet that is not locked into orbit. It travels through space. It's sentient, as I say. And a scavenger crew lands on it, because not only is this planet sentient, but it harbors lots and lots of valuable alloys and minerals, metals, all kinds of things that can make this crew rich. Several problems. There are poisonous gases, rocks that are like razors. There's vapors, gases, aliens on the planet that want to make them sacrifices to their particular gods, and it is really imaginative. This is, I think, Cullen Bunn at one of his imaginative best works. That said, I liked it a lot, but I can see how some people may not. Something in me just says, as much as I liked it, maybe some other people won't. So I'm going to recommend that you, the crew has an adventure. Once they set foot out of their shuttle, they're fighting for their lives, basically. And what they have to overcome is incredible. And don't get too attached to the crew. It's by Oni. I am glad to have it. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to reread it. Something in me tells me that it's not going to be 100% of you out there who feel the same way. So I would suggest that you maybe read the first chapter digitally first and see if you like it. And if you do, then you can buy it. The next book, Big Winner. Bad Reception by Juan Doe. This book is about, first he wrote it and illustrated it, so it is top-notch illustration, and the writing is good too. This is all about social media. And social media is not necessarily my bailiwick. I understand those of you out there who are half my age will get it more than I did even. It is, imagine if Beyonce was not only the biggest star here, but like worldwide. Maybe she already is. It involves the most famous star on the earth who has like 750 million followers on social media. And her husband is also a very well-known, soon-to-be husband is also a very well-known social media star. Their whole circle is involved in social media. It's all about social media. Whoops, I don't want to show that. That gives something away. Here, I can show you this. I probably shouldn't show you more than this because it'll give stuff away. So they go off the grid to have a private wedding on a remote island. All the guests have to sign non-disclosure agreements, and they take everybody's cell phones, put them away. They put up blocking technology, so if you sneak a cell phone in, you can't get any reception. And so they are considered completely off the grid, and they've promoted it ahead of time, of course, and they want to try to get back to just being in the moment. Unfortunately, there's a killer on the island, and they have no way to call for help. So it becomes a hunting party instead of a wedding party, and the people are going down one by one in a grisly fashion, and the people alive have to figure out the method to the madness and how to stop the madness and how to save their lives. The reveal at the end, never saw it coming, thought it was brilliant, and I highly recommend this book. This book is definitely a buy. It's from Aftershock, which has put out a lot of good books. Bad Reception by Juan Doe. And the first part of it, you'll get through. It's an interview on, I don't know, maybe a podcast or television or whatever, with the groom who's written a book. So just get through this first part, which is a couple, 2 or 3, 5, 10 pages of this kind of thing. But you have to read it because it's super important to it. I didn't really have too many expectations in it. I just thought it sounded interesting. This blew me away how good it was. I loved Bad Reception. So thumbs up, buy it, and enjoy it. If you're an X-Men fan, I finally got around to reading Generation X, Volumes 1 and 2. I think these were put out around 2018 by Christina Stain, who's the writer. I'm not familiar with her. I would recommend this for people with a medium knowledge of the X-Men. A new X-Men fan wouldn't know what was going on. I'm about a medium X-Men fan, and so I knew all the characters and what was going on in it. There are a lot of new characters that you get introduced to, but the idea is that the school, the Charles Xavier School, is now being run by Kitty Pryde, and it's in Central Park. And Jubilee, who has Chogo, her son, has been given a class of kids to deal with. And in that class of kids is, of course, the unbelievable Quentin Quire, who I hate. I will say that he becomes bearable by the end. It starts out with a new recruit coming in and how he acclimates himself. And then it deals with people that are disappearing. Well, there's an attack on the school, of course, as there always is. And Jubilee is in charge of these teenagers. I found all the teenagers to be really interesting, and they got, all of them got a chance to shine, which is good, because in a group book, you don't often have kids each get their moment. But they all did, even though Quentin Quire looms over the whole thing. He's one of the students. Something great happens to Jubilee in this book, which I didn't know this was the book that it happened. And I don't want to spoil it for you. But I loved this book. I found it to be really fun and interesting with decent to really good art. And if you're an X-Men fan at all, you probably already read it. But if you're an X-Men fan and you haven't read Generation X, I think you really need to read it, because I had a blast reading this. And I'm just a medium X-Manner, as I've said. So I just 100% recommend both volumes 1 and 2 of Generation X. They're not out of print, not hard to find. There's even a sex education class taught by Dupe, which is awesome. It's just really fun, along with searching for murderous criminals in the underground tunnels of Central Park. It deals with, all kinds of teenage angst and stuff. Excuse me. It's just really fun. I found this to be a blast, so I highly recommend you get this if you're an X-Men fan. Next is one of my top 3 books of the year so far, and that is We Live. It deals with a post-apocalyptic Earth that has been infested by wild creatures that have sprung up, along with a disease that not a disease, but calamities, disease, climate change. Everything has ruined the earth, And an alien race, let me show you some of the beautiful art. An alien race, there's a council of elders that supervises the galaxy and the universe and the worlds. And they have to decide, is Earth worth saving? And that is shown somewhere towards the first half of the book. They're saving Earth. The way they do it is they give 5,000 children on Earth these arm bracelets that are attached into them and melded with their DNA so no one can steal them. And those children are to go to a rendezvous point where they will be swept up and saved by the alien race and given a chance to repopulate the Earth or repopulate another planet as Earthlings. There are five main characters that we see set out on a journey to the rendezvous point. And of course, they experience an unbelievable amount of trial and tribulation. And for instance, you can see this cat here is one of the things they have to deal with. Those are some of the kind of creatures that now populate the Earth, as if Earth isn't bad enough. In a wasteland, all these kind of killer creatures have shown up and evolved. And these five are now trying to make their way to the rendezvous point through all kinds of problems. One of the problems is a cult who only believe in a certain god that thinks these guys are being sacrilegious and are wanting to kill all of them. People that want to steal their bracelets and think they can mold them onto themselves. Scientists that are trying to experiment on people to see what it is that make them so special. This is got a book with a ton of heart, a ton of excitement, super imaginative. I'm trying to find the one spread page that I really love, because you can't just walk to the site. These guys have to take all kinds of transportation to get there. And that's where they run into all the problems, like these kind of creatures. And so it is, well, I'm not coming up on the part that I wanted to show, darn it. Here are the elders making their decision. And you can see how they're portrayed, and it's very interesting. It's a very emotional read. I found myself getting a little choked up. There's lots of excitement. There's a ton of, there's a ton of bloody things that happen, although it's not a bloody book. You see humanity, of course, at its worst, but you can see humanity at some of its best, too, because people are willing to stick up for these kids to make sure. Here it is. I just thought this was beautiful. This is a kid in a big robo suit, followed by his animal pal and the two other kids. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was 5. It's 4, because there's one kid in the robo suit there leading the pack. And they're essentially, that's the little kid's sister there. He's got the bracelet on, and the kid's sister there, and they're all trying to make sure the kid gets to the rendezvous point. This is emotive, exciting, beautiful, heart-wrenching. I It's one of my top 3 books of the year. I wholeheartedly recommend it. I got this from my friends at Yellow Snow Comics. So I'm going to put their address in the description box, and you can order it from them. You may be able to find it somewhere else, but I definitely want to give them a plug because they sent this to me free to review. And, well, they didn't send it to me to review. He didn't even know I had a channel. So Tommy didn't know that I had a channel, but he's been good to me. I bought some stuff from him, and he's been good to me, and so I thought I would try to repay the favor by sending some of my viewers to him to buy this book. It's got 5 issues. The first 4 issues are the first arc, and then the 5th issue starts the next arc, and you are going to want to buy single issues to follow this. It's so great. So it also has, you saw that it had a QR code on that big splash page that I showed you. You show the QR code to your phone, the little QR code reader, and it hooks you up to music for the scene. So it's interactive that way, and it's cool music. So I highly, highly, highly recommend We Live. I'm pretty sure it's up for an Eisner. Here's the little code I was talking about. I'm pretty sure it's up for an Eisner, and it deserves to win. I love this book. Can't wait to keep following it. So go to Yellow Snow Comics. I'll put or go wherever you want, but to buy it, it's up to you. But I'm going to put Yellow Snow in as the place to get it because they're good guys there. I have 2 more winners, and then the 2 losers. Tom Taylor, no surprise, wrote the best Suicide Squad book I've ever read. Bad Blood, in it, he introduces a bunch of new characters that the Suicide Squad is sent out to neutralize. They are a group that believes they are a group that's close to Earth, and it's they're sort of anti-government, anti-pollution, do-gooders. They're all super-powered and or have talents of their own, and they want to get to the bottom of some type of conspiracy. These other people, they're called, wait a sec, what are they called? The Revolutionaries. They are introduced, and Tom Taylor does a good job introducing us to the Revolutionaries. Amanda Waller's not in charge anymore. It's the Suicide Squad has been bought by a billionaire who decides that he wants the Suicide Squad to take out the revolutionaries. Harley Quinn is really well written in this, which is of course important to me because I love Harley Quinn, but she's really more of a comedy relief and a moderator in this. She sort of describes the action. She doesn't really get into a lot of the action herself, so it's not a Harley-centric book. It concentrates more on the other Suicide Squad members, and it also concentrates on the revolutionaries and what happens when the Suicide Squad is sent to take out the revolutionaries. They decide to band together with them. And that does not go over well with the guy who's now in charge. It's not Amanda Waller. It's how they are now trying, both teams are now trying to find their way to the person in charge of all of this. The person who's in charge of all of this is going to surprise you. And it has a couple of other really good twists and turns. And no surprise, because Tom Taylor's a freaking great writer. This is the best Suicide Squad ever written in the modern era since the original. And that's saying something since Ostrander's Suicide Squad. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you get this in whatever form you want. This is a standard hardcover from DC. The binding's really good. I have no problem with any of it. I don't mind that it's a standard. It's a hardcover, so it's beautifully presented. Tom Taylor just can't do anything wrong so far. I haven't been able to find it. This book, A plus, A plus plus. You definitely should read Suicide Squad: Bad Blood, and his Hellblazer's awesome too. We get another Cy Spurrier. I was afraid was the only person that knew John Constantine. Tom Taylor, the Aussie, knows John Constantine too, and writes a great John Constantine, where Constantine, I don't want to tell too much, Constantine as a kid lets loose a demon, loses a childhood friend in the um, in the the bringing up of the child of the demon, the conjuring of the demon. He loses a childhood friend. The art's great by Derek Robertson. It's a black label book, so it's big and oversized, so it's really nice. The devil himself is in this book. There's a demon in this book. John Constantine is really well written. I consider myself a big fan of John Constantine, who's been disappointed numerous times in the past. Not disappointed now. Constantine is written spot on perfect. Tom Taylor knows what he's doing. Not questioning him ever. Hellblazer is fantastic. And his portrayal of the devil is hilarious. And now to the two losers, which I am going to tell you to avoid. Fortunately, I found them on Hoopla, so I have to pull out my iPad. First one, I'm sorry, but I did not enjoy it. It was Jim Lives. It is the second book by these particular creators. The first was Paul is Dead, which I also did not enjoy. Conspiracy that Jim Morrison has faked his death and moved to a small Italian fishing village where a lot of others that supposedly died at the age of 27 have also faked their deaths, and they're living in this Italian fishing village too. The art is kind of pretty, and it does have bloopers pages at the end that I thought were funny. But that's not enough. Supposedly there's a group shadowy group that helps these musicians disappear at the age of 27 and relocate them to quiet lives in Italy where they can just become normal citizens. I didn't buy it at all. This thing is so disconnected that I had a hard time following it. It's very pretty to look at, but it's super disjointed. The guy that went there to find Jim Morrison gets roughed up and disappears, and his father comes over. His father can't find him. He's on the phone with his son, and he says, "Where are you?" And the son's back in the States, and he's like, "What the heck?" It was really hard to follow, and I highly do not recommend it. And I don't recommend Paul is Dead either. Sorry, I'm sure it took a lot of hard work to create this, but I was not into it at all. And let me go to the next book that I can say the same thing about. And I'll have to pull it up real quick because it was also a borrow. The Downriver People gets the down brag vote. This started off as a simple slice of life tale about a guy that inherits kind of a roadhouse bar with live music. He inherited it from his father, who just died. The opening scenes are at the wake for his father in this bar. So it's a sort of slow slice of life story for a while that just devolves into this weird occult cult weirdness where for a second there was a smidgen of a good idea, and it explodes into this huge mess that was impossible to follow. I was really disappointed. Omnicat and the Minister of Comics both were disappointed with this book too. And when I say disappointed, they hated it. It's rare for the three of us to find each other on the Venn diagram of comics, but we did find common ground in this book, and we didn't dig it. I'll still put it in the description if you guys want to take your chance on it. But halfway through the book, the second half made no sense. And there was a fraction of a second there where it could have been really cool, but it was not executed properly. So I'm sure this guy, a lot of effort, a lot of time spent. I'm sorry. Whoops. Knocked the camera over. So I'm sure this guy went through a lot to make this. I'm sorry it didn't work out. So this has been OmniDog. I appreciate your watching. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Leave a comment. I always respond to comments, and I appreciate your support. Thank you all so much for tuning in to what I read. Peace and love. Peace and love.